It's not at all about what you go through, it's how you grow through it. Dr. Wayne Dyer says if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There has to be a better way to look at the situation that you're going through. And today, I'm going to share with you about something that can help you change the way you look at things. We're going to talk about reframing. Hello, 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 and thank you for listening to the Manifest on Purpose show. I am the host of that show. I am Kimberly, and I am here to help you become a conscious creator in your life. And I do that through alignment of your body, mind, soul, and business. So thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe so that we can get this message to other people that need it as well. Before we get started today, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn and the Star 8 mobile numerology app. This is the astronumerology forecast for today. Today is Monday, July the 14th. The sun is in Cancer. The moon is in Pisces. This is 7 universal month, a 9 universal week, a 3 universal day. If you had a clue as to what's going on under the heavens at this moment, you would do your very best to go after all the things you wanted and then some. Allow no one, much less yourself, to set any limitations on what you wish to do to fulfill your heart's desire. In the process, and at the end of the day, you should be at your creative and imaginative best for any problem solving situations or any other challenges for that matter. Look for Pisces, Sagittarius, and those born on the 3rd, 12th, 21st, and 30th of the month to come through when you need someone most today. Once again, that is the astronumerology forecast for today, courtesy of astronumerologist Lloyd Strayhorn and the Star 8 mobile numerology app. You can download this on Google Play, the App Store, or you can go to a star 8, ASTAR, the number 8.com. You can also go to linktr.ee/ numbersanyou. If you're looking for guidance, everyday guidance, knowing what your best days are and what days you should be cautious on, make sure you check this wonderful app out because the calendar feature helps you do just that. Not only do you have the calendar feature, you'll learn more about yourself because this unlocks a code to your personal numerology and also helps with compatibility of all sorts, whether it's your relationships, your business, where you want to live, or where you want to travel to. So make sure you check this app out. Now we're going to get into our story today. And this story is near and dear to me. This goes back to my high school days. And in high school, I was a bit of a character. That was no different when I was in my geometry class. First and foremost, I did not like any classes that had anything to do with math, so geometry was no different. And I didn't really like the teacher either. Perhaps because maybe when I first started the class, there were so many people coming up to me telling me about this teacher to let me know what I was getting myself into for the next semester. One of the things that they said about this teacher is that he was mean. And another thing they said is that he liked to sit back at his desk, and he always had this coffee mug that he kept with him. And people swore to me that he had liquor in that cup, and he would sit and drink liquor during the whole class. I didn't know about any of that, but it made the teacher seem to be a questionable teacher. So I went in with that thought on my mind, and I could not pay attention in class because of the fact that one, I did not like math, and number two, after hearing all of this news about the teacher, I really didn't like him either. In fact, we often went head to head in class. He would always call me out for not doing my work, and an argument would ensue, and we'd go back and forth, back and forth. And so, some of the things that I heard about him, I would say to him, and he would get upset. But closer to the middle of the class, things began to shift. At this point, I will never forget it. And I feel like it was something that was destined in my journey at the time, because believe it or not, the one concept in this geometry class that I was able to take away from the class for the entire year was Pythagorean's theorem. And that is when the relationship between the teacher and I changed. During this time, he saw that I was a little bit interested in this, and he saw I was having a hard time at first. What he did, because mind you, he moved me to the very last seat in the class, and that seat was right next to his desk so he could keep an eye on me. What he did was every day he would come over to my desk and he would start working with me on this concept. So it was like I had one-on-one training. And before long, I was mastering that concept. And it was actually the funnest thing that I had learned all year. And the one thing, as I said, that I walked away from in that class. But the moment we started on that concept of Pythagorean's theorem is the moment that my relationship changed with the teacher. This is when he started to reach out to me to help me even more. And this is the time where I decided to let my guard down, and I decided to accept his help. And once I did that, I began to see a different teacher. No, it was not a substitute or anything like that. It was the same man as before. But I began to see a nurturing side of him, a more caring side of him, a more calm side of him. And I actually felt during that time that he was engaged, and it was making him happy to be able to help me grow in this class. And I thought to myself, and I felt kind of bad because I thought, this teacher is nowhere near what I thought he was in the beginning of the class. But as I said, nothing had changed about this teacher at all. The only thing that changed was the way that I viewed him, the way that I saw him in my mind. It changed that person. And so I guess when you look at that, because I often say that you can't change someone else, but that kind of showed me that in a way you can change people, and you can change people by changing the way you look at them. And this message kind of came a little close to home recently, where there was a situation that When I looked at it for the first time, the situation kind of made me feel angry or upset, disappointed. However, when I look back at that situation and I ask myself, what am I here to learn for this situation? Because everything that happens to us in our life is a learning experience. And you are going through that situation in vain if you're not learning anything from that situation. So, my first question was, what am I to learn from this? What is there here that I should be in gratitude for? And that's some of the questions that you need to ask yourself whenever you are going through any situation. And when your first thoughts of the situation is a negative thought, make sure that you look at it to find out if you can look at it in a different way or if you can see that thing in a different way. There's actually a name for this. The name for this is reframing. First, I want to let you know what subconscious reframing is. Subconscious reframing is just the process of changing how the subconscious mind interprets a experience, whether it's a past experience, a belief, or an emotional pattern. So it supports you in a more positive, empowering way. This is saying that your situation that you're going through, you want to look at it in a more supportive, positive way, one that is more empowering to you, that benefits you most. And it works because your subconscious mind stores all of your memories, your emotions, your beliefs, and your automatic behavior. Those things you don't have to think about before you do it. It often holds on to old interpretations of events. A lot of times, there's events from your past that may need to be reframed or reprogrammed because these events from your past may absolutely be holding you back now. And it even goes back to your childhood. Some of these events are limiting beliefs, things that can very much hold you back today. So, when you reframe something, it's all about changing the memory of those experiences. You don't think about that experience differently. You feel the difference at the core. Your thoughts come first, and then when you're thinking it, you become able to feel it. And that's why I say, make sure that you can find something that you can be grateful because gratitude is one of the most elevated emotions that you can use. Love is also one of those very elevated emotions that you can use. And the more elevated these positive emotions are, or these emotions are in general, the more impressed your subconscious mind becomes to make programs of these new things. Once you impress these things upon the subconscious mind, those programs that are already there, the outdated programs, they begin to shift. The new meaning gets impressed into your subconscious. It's replaced those old beliefs and old thoughts. And when I like to think about it in this way. I like to call a habit a mini program because that's exactly how it works. Well, the one thing you need to know about a habit is you can never break a habit. You can only replace a habit. So, since it's a mini program, we know that what happens on the micro level also happens on the macro level as well. So it's the same thing with our programs. We can never get rid of a program. But however, we can override or replace a program with a better program. So here's how you're going to jump into it. The very first thing that you're going to do is identify that experience, that situation, that limiting belief, or that pain point about you that you need to change. And you're going to become aware of what you want to change. This is a time when you're going to be doing self work. This is inner healing. This is a time where you want to be in solitude. You're not being distracted at the moment. And you're going to ask yourself some questions and perhaps keep a journal at this time. You want to know what belief or emotional reaction keeps on showing up in my life. What's holding me back? Why does this thing keep showing up? Why is this situation bothering me? So that's what you're going to find out in the first step. So in the second step, that goes back to the why as well. Trace it to the origin, because no situation happened that does not have an origin. If something triggers you, that means that there is a larger program somewhere else that's causing you to experience this situation the way that you are experiencing this situation. Say, for instance, the situation with me and the teacher, I already made it clear that I did not like math. And so, because I did not like math in this math class, it is no surprise that I was not paying attention. And it's the same thing about whatever situation that you are experiencing at this point. At some point, there is a root to this. And the interesting thing that I know about roots is, and this is because I grew up in a southern rural area, farming population, but you can chop a tree down and that tree will grow back. But if you do not want that tree to continue to grow, you have to cut it down by the root. So you have to get to the origin of why this experience is bothering you so much. Why is this situation bothering you? Or why are you even triggered by this? Look back to your past to see if you can discover what the root of it is. And then you focus on the root of the situation. Because once you get rid of the root, there's no more life in that situation. Okay, so then we're going to go to step 3. You're going to observe the situation without judgment. Now, it's hard to be non judgmental. People think that this is the absolute way that you should be, as if being non judgmental is easy. Hey, but it's not as easy as some people think it is. But you have to look at your experience as a compassionate observer. Instead of just reliving that experience over and over again, kind of observe that from an outside view. It's kind of like window shopping. You're not going through that experience, but you're looking at that experience in a neutral type of way. And that's for everything that's involved with this experience. So you're going to allow yourself to feel the emotions of the situation, but don't let them control you. So you're going to recognize these emotions because you need to know what emotion is this trigger bringing up for you. But that does not mean to tap into them at this moment. You just want to become aware. And step 4, question how you used to view the situation or the circumstance that you're going through. Kind of put the shoe on the other foot, if you will. Kind of think about it from the opposite point of view. Is the way you feel about the situation completely justified? Or are there some other justifications in this situation? So challenge that meaning that you gave to the event. Ask yourself, was that belief actually true? Was I too young to understand the full picture? What else could have been going on? What could that other person have been going through? Look at it in that way. Kind of look at it through the lens of other people to see how many different interpretations you come up with. Step 5, find the positive learning or gift. So, in this step, you want to ask, what did I learn from that experience? How did it shape who I am in a good way? What strength did it awaken in me? Every situation or everything that we experience has purpose and meaning within it. We just have to find out what the purpose is and what the meaning is in that situation. What is the gift in this? Even if the gift was, I am protected, it helped protect me for the future. I am a better person today because I went what I went through in that experience. Find the silver lining in the cloud. It could also be that it taught you valuable lessons to help you save yourself, to help you protect yourself. I know it may be hard for some people to believe, especially those that have went through some trauma or something like that. However, there is something, one thing, no matter how minute it is, that you can say that you learned from that situation. Step 6, now you're going to anchor the new belief, and you're going to do that with visualization. What you're going to do in this step is imagine the younger version of yourself in the past and re experiencing the event. But this time, when you experience that event, imagine yourself experiencing this event with the positive scenario that you've created through reframing. Visualize your higher self whispering encouragement to you or the people, because sometimes hurt people. And you never know that what someone else went through is a result of what they went through, and they may not even know any better. Whisper encouragement to them. Visualize the moment playing out with confidence, love, or safety. And remember, using those high emotions such as love will help impress this on your subconscious mind. Also, visualize a new belief locking into place. Make sure that you use statements like, I am capable, I am supportive, or I am growing. And you can even imagine placing your new belief into a symbolic object, a glowing crystal bottle or journal, and putting it into the subconscious toolkit. You can check out the newest guided visualization that I have released. And this is release the past and plant your future. And this is a timeline experience taking you through your timeline and doing this very same thing, reframing. I will post it here so that you can see it, but make sure you check that out. And in step 7, you're going to reinforce the reframe. So you're going to begin to say your new belief out loud, and you're not just going to stop saying it there. You're going to repeat it daily, especially during meditation, journaling, or before sleeping, when the subconscious mind is most open for suggestion. My new geometry teacher and I were at each other's throats every single day when I first came to that class. I remember thinking to myself, and I'm pretty sure that he did too, there has to be a better way. And it was correct. Pythagoras brought us together, and that's interesting because I never knew at that time that I would be at a later date, which is now, studying and practicing the art of astronumerology. And Pythagoras was who brought my teacher and I together, all with a little help of reframing. Dr. Wayne Dyer was the one that said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I had to reframe and change the way that I looked at my teacher. And I did that. Once I did it, I learned so much more. I learned more than I thought that I would in that geometry class. Perhaps it's not geometry for you. Perhaps it's an experience or situation that shows up as a pattern in your life. Now is the time for you to have a seat and think about the root of that experience. Why have you been triggered to that same situation through that same experience? There has to be a better way to look at this thing. Now that you know the art of reframing and how to do it for yourself, I challenge you to look at all of those things that are holding you back, all of those things that keep you stressed out, and begin to reframe those things. Because after all, life is not about what you go through, it's how you grow through it. I love you to life. This is how you manifest on purpose.